a real complication, and it's an only child. Consider my reputation something more than what I know it serves me right, but I can't sleep at night. Have to hide my face or go some other place.
Hi, good evening, welcome. No, I'm not Dennis. Dennis has asked me to fill in for him. He's on vacation, I guess a well-deserved vacation. And this is Talk Talk. I'm Eric. And for the ones who have asked me about, in my opinion, in October we'll be back. So thank you for asking. And there is so much going on right now. It's actually kind of fun. You can comment on so many different issues. And I was trying to think of which one do I want to start first. And there's a lot of people I hope that have opinions. You can call in. That's why this is a call-in show. There's a lot. I want to do both national and local. The first thing I think I will start with, the situation that was in Chattanooga, Tennessee, regarding the Muslim radical who killed 5 people. Well, the servicemen at that base were not armed. They don't carry their arms. Now they will be. A number of states have already changed their laws that service people on bases, at certain ones, should be carrying arms. Now, what got me interested was the day on Wednesday, July 22nd, on the Region section, Malloy, Connecticut won't arm National Guardsmen. And this is just so typical of Malloy and other people on the left, if you want to call it, Democrats, whatever it is. What is it going to take to have the National Guardsmen armed? What it's going to take is somebody is going to go over there and start shooting and killing, and then, and only then, will we be able to have those people have their arms. This country is under attack, and people like Malloy, who really don't give a rat's behind, won't let people protect themselves. I would love to have a firearm. I don't have one, and I know probably a lot of people thinking, well, you're stupid, you should have something to arm yourselves. Well, I don't have one right now. I would like to get one. Kowtow to my wife, if you want to call it. She doesn't want any firearms in the house. However, she wouldn't know if there was a firearm in the house. That's if I had one. So, but a lot of people get in trouble. Firearms go off. I don't have anybody in the house anymore. My children are grown and gone. So for right now, I don't have a firearm. I'm hoping eventually I will. But I think anybody in the service today who deserve our respect more than anything else should be armed to protect themselves when these radicalized Muslims, Islam, ISIS, whatever you want to call it, start killing more and more. It's going to happen, people. And it's a shame because this country is better than that. Unfortunately, we don't have a government who wants to let us protect ourselves. We have a do-nothing president who likes to comment only again if it's white against black, and will never comment or has not commented when it's black on white or black on black. And his own hometown in Chicago has, I don't know if you've ever paid attention, has 30 killings every weekend, something in that respect, and it's all black on black. And do you ever hear him making a comment? Do you ever hear Al Sharpton going there? No. Only if it's white on black will they comment. Now, there was an interesting situation. There was a Senate subcommittee hearing regarding the Kate Steinle murder by an illegal alien, a Mexican. He'd been deported 5 times, arrested 7 times. He finally killed somebody, and if anybody had any decency, somebody in that jail would go and just shoot the bastard because he deserves it. If it was my daughter he killed, I guarantee you, some way, this person would not be alive today. He doesn't deserve the right to have a trial. He doesn't deserve anything. And I think what happened was, during those Senate subcommittee hearings, you had 2 prominent Democratic senators. The main one was Chuck Schumer from New York. He got up and left. Didn't even want to listen to what the father, Mr. Steinle, had to say. What does that tell you about this senator? He's spineless. When it comes to something other than the left, he'll be right there. But if it's anything about protecting good citizens, he wasn't there. This is the problem. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of really bad Republicans as well. And 2 of them off the top of my head, the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, and the Congressional Majority Leader, John Boehner, they're both really terrible people. They've got an approval rating of somewhere around 40%. I mean, they're 60% of from what I've heard from polls, they want them out. They have done nothing. And all you ever heard when they said that the Republicans finally won the Senate and the Congress back, well, things are going to get done. Nothing has been done. Nothing. And you've got a lot of people who are running for president right now, and I still don't understand why they're running so soon. It's only July, and the election's not until November of next year. You're going to see billions of dollars wasted, people. And that's why I will not contribute 1 dime to anybody's candidacy. It's too early, and it's a waste of money. The only really thing that bothers me about this Steinle situation was that it happened. That we have so many illegals and sanctuary cities that they should be cut off from federal funds. And there are something like 300 sanctuary cities in this country. We have 2 in Connecticut, Bridgeport, and where was the other one? Hartford, I think, is the other one. They should be cut off from federal funds. There should be no illegals in this country. They want to be citizens. Well, how can they be citizens if the first thing they ever did was violate the law and came here illegally? There are a lot of people waiting on the list to become citizens, and they've waited for years. We are actually going to put the people who came here illegally ahead of those good people and make them citizens? And I really think, I've brought this up before, that if you have listened to Donald Trump, and you may think he is, quote unquote, a jackass from Lindsey Graham who hasn't got a prayer in hell to be elected, the man is a moron, has done nothing very much while he's been a senator. Donald Trump, the reason he is surging in the polls is because he is saying a lot of what a lot of people are thinking and will not say. It's the same thing when people come up to me in the street and they say they can't believe I say what I do say, but it's freedom of speech. I'm allowed to say things. I can call anybody I want, anything I want. It's my opinion, it's my feelings, it's my freedom of speech. And until that's taken away, which could be next year if Obama has his way, I'm I'm going to say what I want to say. If you think I'm wrong, let me know. We can argue it. We can debate it civilly. But I'm certainly not going to go beat up on anybody. It's my right. So Donald Trump is surging, and people don't know why. The media does not know why. The Republican people running for all the other 15, amazing how many people think they should be president. Other candidates who are running for president open up their mouths, not all of them, there's a couple who haven't said anything, and they wonder why Mr. Trump is surging. The reason why is because everybody's talking about him. If you stop talking about him, things go away. Issues go away. But another reason is that Donald Trump is funding his own campaign. He's not taking any money from anybody else. So he doesn't care what people say about him. If you talk negatively about him, he doesn't care. He comes back on strength. That's why he is one reason why he's a successful businessman. He is not a politician, and he has said he is not a politician. What he said about John McCain, which should not have been said. John McCain was a war hero. I would not want to be put into a concentration camp or any prisoner camp for 5.5 years. So McCain definitely deserves the title of war hero. However, what he said about McCain's record in the Senate is true. He's done very little for a lot of issues. The man, if you've ever listened to him or watched him, he really is a very nasty man. He should never have been a presidential contender or the pick to run for presidency in 2008. And yes, he did pick the wrong vice presidential candidate, but he has very little to show. All he wants is to arm other countries to help those other countries out. I want somebody in this country to start protecting our country and to run this country as a business, not as a giveaway. And that's what Mr. Obama has run. He has run this country into the ground purposely. He said he was going to fundamentally change the United States. And as much as you may want to think that he's a moron, he is incompetent, he knows exactly what he's doing about taking this country into the gutter. And he's doing this purposely. And he's doing it against the Constitution. This is what bothers me. He put his hand on the Bible and swore to uphold the Constitution of America and of the United States. He hasn't done it. He's violated the Constitution many, many, many times. If you go to do some research, there is a gentleman, his name is Wayne Allen Root. I've read a huge article yesterday outlining a lot of different issues of what Obama, Clinton, Holder, McConnell, Boehner, there's a lot more people that if you or I did what they had done, we would be in jail. They deserve to be in jail. You may disagree with me, but it's the truth. You don't apologize to countries for us that we may have been bullies. You apologize that what we did was wrong in the past years, wars or anything. That's treason. That goes totally against what we have done. And Benghazi, the list goes on and on and on, and you know everything that has been done. And what all these politicians have behind them are other people's money. If you think Obama has the brains to orchestrate what he has done, you're really mistaken. I don't know anybody else who can write 2 autobiographies before the age of, what, 50? I think it's kind of ridiculous. He denies basically his white heritage. I have said many times, when we finally get a black president in the office, maybe there'll be a respectful president. This is a community organizer. He has never done anything in his life without his hand out. He's used other people's money and done everything regarding other people's agenda. The Radical book, all of a sudden it escapes my mind. But George Soros is a billionaire, and everybody complains, oh, the brothers on the Republican side donating billions of dollars. Well, what do you think George Soros does? Everybody complains, oh, the Republicans are so rich. What do you think Democrats are? You think Harry Reid was rich before he became had the majority leader in the Senate earlier? And the man's got $100 million. Do you think, how did he get that? You don't get it by working as a senator. On a senator's pay, they make $174,000 a year. It just goes on and on and on. Everybody in the Senate, almost everybody, because Chris Murphy, who I really think is not a good senator, unfortunately, and he's from Connecticut. He will do anything. If they need a vote and it goes towards Obama, he'll vote for it. He doesn't think for himself. He doesn't know how to think for himself. And the reason why Connecticut is in the situation it's in, $40 billion in debt, is because the people of Connecticut keep putting the same kind of people in office year after year after year. What does it take? That's why my favorite saying is, you can't fix stupid. What does it take for people to finally realize things are not working in Connecticut, in the government itself, that you need a change, but it doesn't work that way. People do not get it. They'd rather have everything handed to them instead of working for it. And the people out there who are really working are getting tired of it. There is another situation. So Trump, if you want to stop Trump, stop talking about him. It's as simple as that. If he doesn't get the attention, he may go away. I don't know. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Now he's threatening to run independent if he doesn't get the nod. That will really probably hand everything to Hillary, which would be another disaster in this country. If you don't, everybody knows she's a liar. She cannot be trusted. She's been a liar since before age 27. I read the article to you in the past where she was fired from a Democratic job because the Democratic head of that, who she worked for, said she was a liar and didn't follow the Constitution. It's as simple as that. So Trump is not using anybody else's money except his own, so he's not beholden to anybody. So whether you're a Democrat or whether you're a Republican and you're being backed by millions of dollars from other people's money, that means you owe favors to everybody else. Look up Wayne Allen Root and some of the articles he's written, and you will see. If you run for office, and politics is really dirty, everybody knows that, you are going to owe favors to a lot of people. And if you don't pay them back, I don't know, there's hell to pay, I guess. The next situation would be the $15 an hour wage gains ground. And I have talked to you about that many, many, many times. When Dennis is here, we've gone through it as well. Now, California has pushed for the $15 an hour wage. Seattle, Los Angeles, and San Francisco have already passed resolutions that they will have $15 an hour wages. They call it a working wage. Why don't they get an education? You want $15 an hour? Now the people who are making $15 an hour to $18 an hour or whatever, where are they going to go? That means you're going to have to pay them $25 an hour? $20 an hour? Why should the people who have gotten educations be paid the same amount of people who didn't want to get an education? The jobs that the people are making now at McDonald's and all these other places, they're entry-level jobs. They're for people to learn, to get into the business environment so they can start making money and then work up from there. Now, what I've said this before, what you may not understand is $15 an hour, I think they said was $31,200 a year. That's fine. But if you are making $15 an hour, that means your income is going up. That means you are going to pay higher taxes. That means you're going to be losing what coverage you have on insurance that you may have because you're making too much money now. That means it's going to cost you more. It's also going to mean that you may not get food stamps, you may not get welfare, depending upon how many are in your family. But it's also, I heard today also that the people who are in the service sector, waitresses or things like that, some business owners have said, well, you're going to make $15 an hour and the food prices are going to go up. Probably tips are going to go down. If I know somebody's making $15 an hour, I'm certainly not going to tip them. Why should I tip somebody who's making $15 an hour when they're making now a better wage? Their job is to service customers and they're making a better wage, so why should I tip them? I don't get tipped. I'm in the service sector, but I'm in the healthcare, and we're not allowed to take tips. If you're making $15 an hour, you better start thinking about why isn't the person am I not getting a tip? Maybe because you're making a living wage now, that's what everybody keeps saying. How much money did you also declare at making $8 or $9 an hour and you're making tips? How much of that money, tip money, did you actually declare? I don't blame you for not declaring it. The government sure doesn't treat us very well. Why should we treat them? So people have to really think. And Mr. Finincio wanted to do that in New London, make $15 a living wage here. He can't mandate that. Do you know how many businesses are going to go out of business at $15 an hour because they cannot raise the prices of their crappy hamburgers at McDonald's or Burger King or things like that? Are you ready to pay $10 for a Big Mac or a Whopper? I'm not. It was amazing. I went to Dunkin' Donuts the other day, and for a bacon, egg and cheese croissant with a cup of coffee was over $7. I'm not going back. This was in Route 184. I think it was 184 and 117. The sandwich was tasteless. Service was good, but the sandwich was tasteless. And you get a slip when you pay for your food, you get the slip and it says, call this and take the survey. Take the survey. Tell them how bad the food was or how good the food was. At the end, you get a number. Write that on your slip and you get a free donut the next time you want to go in. Go to someplace like, if you want coffee, McDonald's or Cumberland Farms. 99 cents any size. Coffee is very good coffee if you like coffee. Well, I don't like straight coffee, black coffee. I have to doctor it. But why pay $2 or $3 for a cup of coffee when you can get it for $1? Any size. So go through that. I'd like to, well, what are your feelings on what's going on with Planned Parenthood? For what they have done, I think their funding should be taken away. That's $500 million a year. Think of all the money that's wasted in government. How we could get back to being in the black if we didn't waste all this money. $500 million a year to Planned Parenthood to provide abortions. And they're saying that 87% of those abortions are black abortions. How do black people's lives matter if black people are killing off their own kids like that? I don't understand it. I've got an interesting article to read you, Black Families Matter. That was, we'll go through that in a bit. So I am basically pro-choice. I'm really anti-abortion, but I don't think it's right for any man to decide whether a woman has an abortion or not, because I'm not the one who's carrying it. I'm not the one who, and I know it's a life in there, being in the medical field, and I know doctors, their first oath is do no harm. What do you think they are doing? Think of all the millions upon millions of babies that have been destroyed because of what Planned Parenthood has done or other people have done. I just don't think it's right. I know a lot of people out there probably disagree with me, but that's all right. That's why we have choice. I won't tell a woman to get an abortion, but because I just don't think should be my decision. It's the person who is carrying that child to make that decision. Many years ago, when my daughter was born, the first child of both sides of our family, I went to my mom and asked her, how would you have felt if we had decided to abort our daughter? And she said that would have been our decision. I could never have done that. My wife and I are blessed with two really smart, accomplished adults. They are good people. We are really very blessed. And not only that, they're smart enough that they have left the state of Connecticut. I'm going to read this article first because I do want to spend enough time about what's going on in New London, the Democrats, Republicans for the mayor situation, city council. But I want to read you an article, and it was written in the Daily Press, Newport News, Virginia, July 11th, 2015. Bear with me, please. This was written by Walter Williams from the right. It says, Black Families Matter. Let's list major problems affecting Black Americans. Topping the list is the breakdown in the Black family, where only 1/3 of Black children are raised in two-parent households. Actually, the term breakdown is incorrect. Families do not form in the first place. Nationally, there is a Black illegitimacy rate of 72%. In some urban areas, the percentage is much greater. Blacks constitute more than 50% of murder victims. Roughly 7,000 blacks are murdered each year. 95% of the time, the perpetrator is another black. Did you hear Obama ever saying anything? Al Sharpton? Jesse Jackson? If a black youngster does graduate from high school, it is highly likely that he can read, write, and compute no better than a white 7th or 8th grader. These are the major problems that face black Americans. Let's look at some of the strategy since the beginning of the civil rights movement. The Black Power movement of the 60s and 70s contended that black underrepresentation in the political arena was a major problem. It was argued that the election of more black officials as congressmen, mayors, and city council members would mean economic power, better neighborhoods, and better schools. 43 years ago, there were roughly 1,500 black elected officials nationwide. According to the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies, by 2011, there were roughly 10,500 black elected officials, including a black president, which I debate on that. But what were the fruits? By most any measure, the problems are worse. The greatest black poverty, poorest education, highest crime, and greatest family instability exist in cities such as Detroit, St. Louis, Oakland, Memphis, Birmingham, Alabama, Atlanta, Baltimore, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Buffalo, New York. The most common characteristics of these predominantly black cities is that, for decades, all of them have been run by Democrats and presumably liberal administrations. What's more is that in most of these cities, blacks have been mayors, chiefs of police, school superintendents, and principals, and have dominated city councils. Political power has not lived up to its billing. So what should black politicians and activists now be focused on to address some of the problems confronting black people? Let's look at some of the fiddling by some black politicians, white liberals, and some intimidated white conservatives. How about banning the Confederate flag from public places because it is alleged to be a symbol of slavery? What would that do for black problems? By the way, slave ships sailed under the American flag. What about Memphis Mayor A.C. Wharton's proposal to, quote, help his black constituents? He has proposed to dig up the bodies of Confederate General Nathan Bedford Forrest and his wife and remove them from a city park. One wonders whether he thinks marshaling resources to do that is more important than dealing with the city's 145 murders, 320 rapes, 6,900 aggravated assault calls, and 3,000 robberies. All of the Memphis black homicide victims were murdered by other blacks. In the wake of the Charleston murders, some people promote the false narrative that it's white racists who are the interracial murderers. That's nonsense. FBI crime victimization surveys show that blacks commit 80% of all interracial violent crime. The bottom line is that even if white people became angels tomorrow, it would do nothing for the problems plaguing the large segments of the black community. Illegitimacy, family breakdown, crime, and fraudulent education are devastating problems, but they are not civil rights problems. There is little or nothing that government or white people can do to solve these problems. The solutions lie with the black people. Walter Williams is a professor of economics at George Mason University. He's black. So who are you going to call a racist now? Is it hard to see that the blacks are creating their own problems? Whites have a lot of problems as well, but we certainly don't have the kind of numbers that the blacks have. And I don't understand. I've met and treated a lot of really wonderful people. Many blacks, Asians, Hispanics, and white people. I have no problems getting along with any of these people. If you treat me with respect, I treat you with respect. And that's all that people should need. And you won't have these problems. Okay. Let's go to New London. I was at a lot meeting, or I went to a lot meeting last night. Not enough people showed up, so they canceled the meeting. But they were having Republicans were having their meeting yesterday to elect people to run for city council, board of education, and the mayor. And I'm not saying that these are not good people that they picked. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're very good people. I know some of these people who are running, and I will definitely vote for some of them. Anything to change New London. I've lived here since 1980. I've dealt with a lot of older New Londoners who were born and raised here. They're in their 80s, their 90s, their 70s. And they all say the problems with New London started in the 60s when they took federal dollars. The problem with New London right now is we don't have enough tax base in this city to provide what the city really needs. We keep nominating and electing the same people year after year after year after year. It's gone on for decades. And this town doesn't get it. This is a typical Democratic town. For every 5 Democrats, there may be 1 Republican. But this town doesn't get it. You've had a mayor for the past almost 4 years now, and all he calls all the people who have been in office are the old guard. What did he do for 4 years? He raised our taxes every year. He made this community more divisive. The first thing he did was he wasn't going, when he got elected mayor, he didn't want to honor anything that the Coast Guard was going to do with Riverside Park. If it went to the Riverside Park people voted to give it to the Coast Guard, he didn't care. They weren't going to get it. If that's what happened, that's what we voted for. That's what we would have voted for. And you've got a person who is going to say no. He wanted to make marijuana legal in this city. And it took the state to tell him, you can't do that. You have a mayor who runs rampant, wants to dictate what this city can and cannot do. He doesn't follow the charter. Well, most of the Democrats don't. Nobody, very few people on the council follow the charter. But we have problems in this town. This town needs money. And all they can do is spend, spend, and spend. Instead of, whatever we take in is all that we're going to spend. We can't tax our citizens anymore. We have to live within our means. But New London doesn't know how to do that. So right now, we have the largest mill rate in the region. We are at 39.8 mils. That's $39.80 for every $1,000 assessed on property. We're not going to get any tax relief. I think it's until next year when the taxes on the on motor vehicles is going to be adjusted to be a little bit more fair. We've got two major colleges in New London who don't give the respect that New London deserves and help support the city. And Conn College charges $55,000, $60,000 per person a year. And you mean to tell me they can't afford to give something back, like a couple of $1 million? We have a phone call. Good evening, you're on.
Good evening. I just wondering, I just recently heard, like yesterday, that the principal of Nathan Hale has resigned. And I was wondering how you felt about that, or if you had any comment on it.
Boy, have I got comments on that one. Before I comment, may I have your feelings?
I think it's sad. I think it's really, really sad.
Do you know why she resigned?
Yeah.
Would you
I
like
worked for her as a teacher.
Yeah.
And I worked for her as a principal.
Okay.
So I saw her in both positions.
Would you like to? I'm going to keep you on probably for as long as I can. But I want to go through that. But why don't you educate people out there why she resigned?
I don't know why. I heard why she resigned. It's only secondhand.
Okay.
My understanding was that they wanted her to go to central office, and she didn't want to go, so she resigned.
Well, the reason, you're part right. They wanted her to go to, because I've spoken to a number of people. They wanted her to go to central office half-time. They also wanted her to go to Jennings School half-time and be the principal there, because Jennings School is failing. Jennings School is a disaster. And I said to people before Jennings School became a dual language, do not do it. Dual language schools had been proven to not be effective even in California, where most of the population in California are Spanish speaking. Dual language, you've got kids in these schools who can't speak their own language well, let alone that they have to be divided between English and Spanish. So Jennings is failing, and it's been failing since day one. And instead of firing the principal at Jennings School, they moved her up to be principal at the Science and Magnet Technology School.
And I disagree with you there with that one also, because I worked for that one also.
Okay.
And I think she's a wonderful person and a wonderful lady and knows what she's doing. And she taught Donna Slate how to be a principal. So I disagree with you there.
Okay, that's fine. But then the principal they had the past year apparently didn't do the job of getting this school up to passing. And so they wanted Donna Slate to take over that school. So Donna, from what I heard, said, well, can I take my core people with me to Jennings to help? I mean, because it doesn't take one person to make a school successful, right? It takes a lot of good teachers.
It does.
So administration said no. And so what she did was she resigned. And I don't know if the school board even knew about this at the time, but what you are absolutely right. It is a shame to let her go, or to even have to have her write that resignation letter, because I've heard so many different things about some of the principals now have to be jockeyed. Who's going to be the new principal over At Nathan Hale, I've heard one principal is not well liked at all, that they have teachers that have had lawsuits against this person. I've heard just so many different things, and to let this person go, I think is almost criminal, because Nathan Hale was the most successful school in New London.
I begged her to take the superintendent's job when it came open before they went with Carter. I wrote her a letter, I called her, I did everything I could in my power to put the thought in her head to take the job, but she kept saying, no, I'm happy here, I want to be here, whatever. And I said, okay, fine, it's your choice, but I think you'd be a good superintendent, and I do. I think she would have been a great one.
Probably.
But let her go completely I'm still in shock. I have to say that. I don't know. I've heard a lot about the principal that's disliked a lot myself. But to let Donna Slate go it's just another downfall for the public school system. Or at least that's my opinion.
No, you're absolutely right. And what bothers me is exactly what you just said. New London is not improving. I think you've got so many kids who come out of school and who probably can't read well enough or write well enough, and this city is spending untold millions to improve the school system, and it's costing us a fortune in tax dollars, and we're still at the bottom of the barrel in the state of Connecticut. Go ahead.
I don't understand this magnet junk. Okay, I'll put it nicely. Children can learn in a one-room schoolhouse if they want to learn, and you've got the right teachers and the right people doing the job. Doesn't matter that and like I said, I worked at Jennings after they built it.
Okay.
It made no difference in how those kids learned.
Right.
The kids were the kids, and the kids that wanted to apply themselves, they did. The kids who did not, didn't do it.
Right.
And for Spanish, again, I was in a bilingual class. It made no difference. It made no difference.
Do you think...
So, I don't know. I just really wanted your opinion of leaving. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I appreciate it. And
thank you for calling.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So we're going to have a primary in New London with the Democrats, and because the Democrats have nominated Michael Passero for mayor, but Darrell Finizio doesn't want to let this go. So I believe it's September, there'll be a primary. Now, what is going to happen after this primary? If Michael Passero is chosen as the Democratic nomination for mayor, what's going to happen is that Mr. Finizio will not sit in the background. He's going to sit on his laurels. He's going to change parties, whether it's the working class party or whether it's the Green Party or whatever party he wants to call it. I mean, he can call it anything he wants. He can call it the gay party for all I care. I don't care. But that's what he's going to do because he doesn't want to lose his job as mayor. He thinks he's a very effective mayor. Anybody who has a brain in New London can see that New London is hurting. People can't wait to leave New London. And New London has so much to offer. People say all the time, oh, New London, if it could, it has the ability to be a Rockport, Massachusetts, a Portland, Maine. Why can't it be Mystic? Why? It has so much to offer. But what New London has that all these other cities do not have is the makeup of the town. And that's what pulls the town down, unfortunately. It's been run the same way. People, please, even if you're a Democrat, consider for the past 30, 40, 50 years how this town's been run. Don't you think it's time to give somebody else an opportunity and a chance to change this, the way New London is run? Not like the good old boy families that have been running New London for years and years and years. We're broke. The state's broke. The government, the federal government's broke. What does it take to, in somebody's mind, to think that we've got to try something else? And even the Board of Education, it's run by the same kind of people year after year after year. I think I only know one person on that Board of Education who has really tried to make a difference. They never fire anybody from New London school system. And there are a lot of people who deserve to be fired. You don't promote them, you fire them for not doing their job. This is the problem with the public and the private sector jobs. Public sector jobs never get fired. Private people do. I was at the IRS. I've got less than 2 minutes. I not received my tax refund, and at the beginning of June, I was told I had to call to verify my return. I did. They said you'll get it in 6 weeks. 2 weeks later, I got the same letter. Had to call up again, and you have to wait forever. I did not, and they said, well, do away with that letter. It's 7 to 8 weeks, haven't received my refund, which I used to pay my taxes in New London for the first half. And I went to the tax office yesterday, it was 4:30, they were closed. I went there today with 5 or 10 minutes left, and the officer that was there was saying, well, they're only taking if you're making a payment. They work from 8 to 4:30 with an hour off. This is the problem with public sector jobs. I work 8, 9, 10 hours a day sometimes. I take pride in my job. The people, especially the IRS, the guy's sitting behind the desk doing nothing. He could have taken my questions and to ask. It would not have taken long. This is the problem with Publix. Thank you for letting me into your home tonight. Dennis will be back next week, I hope. And if you have any questions, stop me on the street. You can ask me any questions you want. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend. We have some nice weather finally. Good night.